Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Is Sophie Cunningham's time with the Indiana Fever coming to an end? Yes, maybe. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's dig into this. There's been obviously a lot of speculation going on about who's coming back. So many free agents out there. We've got the CBA. We don't know how that's going to change free agency. We've got the expansion teams drafting, of which there are two. They are way, way behind at this point. We have what is today? The 5th. We have the 9th when the extension is expiring. We still don't have a deal. They seem light years apart in negotiations between the union and the WNBA. And now we have this, which I thought was an interesting piece that I wanted to bring to your attention, because obviously this is one of the players that a lot of fans are really wondering about, concerned about. Indiana Fever fans, Caitlin Clark fans, they all want Sophie Cunningham to return, not just because they like Sophie Cunningham, not just because Sophie Cunningham is a heck of a basketball player, but also because of the dynamic on the team with Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark, not just a friendship, which, and I get people like that off the court, but that is off the court. But it was also with the way Caitlin Clark has been treated since she came into the league, the cheap shots that she's taken, the dirty plays that she's taken, the Kennedy Carters, the Dejanay Carringtons, and more importantly, and more in terms of pissing off the Caitlin Clark fans, is the complete lack of support from her teammates. Caitlin Clark's teammates have never had her back. No one protecting her, no one having her back until finally, finally, we got a little something, something like this. And as much as people loved Sophie Cunningham, I mean, let's face it, Sophie Cunningham is just likable, folks. She is. She's annoyingly likable. That's just the way it is. And she can ball. And then, so everyone, most of Caitlin Clark's fans, they liked her. And then they saw this and they're like, yep, 100%. That's who we want on this team. We love everything about this play. And to be fair, even if you say, oh, this has nothing to do with Caitlin Clark, you still love this. The way that the Connecticut Sun were acting, how dirty that team is, absolutely disgusting bunch of morons on that team. It is nice to have someone that says, you know what? I'm not putting up with this crap. You want to come at me? I'm going to put you in your place. And so obviously that was something that really took things to another level in terms of the Fever fans. And so now we've got this situation where, thanks to the CBA, all these players being free agents, the expansion draft, and all that, Sophie Cunningham may very well not be back. I don't know that she can be back. That it depends. Things are going to have to change. And here's why. And this is why, unfortunately, sorry, Grant, but can't afford to leave Sophie Cunningham unprotected. They can't afford to protect Sophie Cunningham based on what we know right now. And that is the problem. It's going to get really interesting with the expansion teams, because it's almost like they're going to have to take away some free agencies. I don't know how you can have teams, enough players available for the expansion teams with all the players that are free agents, unless you're telling them, if you get picked in the expansion draft, that's it. You're not a free agent. But I'll explain more of that. It says the Indiana Fever can't fumble this decision during the WNBA expansion draft. Now, again, obviously, with the collective bargaining agreement, this may change. What we know right now, this is it, like it says here, that the sentiment, what we think we know right now, is that because there are two teams involved in this year's draft, the 13 current WNBA teams will only be able to protect 5 players on their current roster, which is, last year it was 6, which is absolutely, of course, absurd that you can only protect 5 players. And again, though, with the free agency thing, that doesn't matter. So, like it says with the Fever, Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull. And then it says, got to choose between Sophie Cunningham or Michaela Timpson as their 5th and final protected player. I don't know that you do, because here's the problem. Sophie Cunningham is a free agent. Sophie Cunningham is a free agent. So if you don't protect, now I'm not saying Michaela Timpson will get selected, but I don't know how you protect a free agent that you can't core over a second-year player with a lot of potential that is under contract. How do you make that decision? And like it says here, a lot of people predicted the Fever will choose Timpson for the exact reason that I just get. So it's not really an error because you could protect Sophie Cunningham and she leaves. The only way this works, and I'm not sure, you're getting into a gray area here, that there would have to be some sort of understanding between the Fever and Cunningham that Cunningham will re-sign with the Fever, but then that gets into negotiations and so forth. And I'm guessing, I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm guessing with this that there is going to be something with the expansion draft before the free agency signing period, right? Which means, would the team be able to technically talk to Sophie Cunningham about what would happen in free agency before the expansion draft? Because to me, that's the only way that you ensure Sophie Cunningham being on the team and that you protect her is like that you have a deal done, right? It may only be verbal, but you've got something that says we're going to protect Sophie because we know we're going to sign her. And then the other thing that complicates that, which is might need to be spelled out in the CBA, is again, 80% of the league are free agents. So how do you have an expansion draft, right? Like these expansion teams, seems like there's risk in there. Now, last year there was, and I forget the exact rule off the top of my head, but it was a certain number of free agencies that you could select or that were unprotected, or I forget exactly how it worked. But with two teams now and 80% of the league being free agents, that's going to get tricky as to how that works. So that's probably something that's going to have to be hammered out in the CBA. I don't know how many if they find a way to like, hey, if free agents get left unprotected and they get drafted, maybe say X number of free agents, they aren't going to be able to be free agents if they get drafted by the expansion team. That becomes tricky because, a lot of players might not like that. And I don't know if that's something they would agree with, but that's going to get interesting. So Fever will be foolish not to protect Sophie Cunningham. Yeah, again, I wish it was that easy. I mean, that's the thing. Don't get me wrong. I want Sophie Cunningham to return. I think, and this isn't going to happen, and to reference a video I did about bold predictions, a bold prediction for me would be protector. I mean, that's tough. Okay, setting this aside, core Kelsey Mitchell and trade her for something valuable. Okay, because otherwise you're going to get there are going to be a lot of issues with Caitlin Clark and how she's used by Stephanie White, who wants to make Kelsey Mitchell the star of the Indiana Fever. But that's a topic for another day. Maybe I'll do a video on that. But yeah, Cunningham provides timely three-point shooting, solid defense. However, appeal on the court largely comes from a gritty play style where she backs down to nobody and doesn't take any disrespect for her or her free Fever teammates. Yeah, that is 100% true. I just saw that. That's what you have here when she threw JC Sheldon, made her biatch, grabbed her around, say, look, little girl, look, little girl, don't make me put you in timeout because I will put you in timeout. So this is one of the things I'm really interested to see how this happens once we for sure know the rules with free agency and the expansion draft. How do we get Sophie Cunningham back to the Indiana Fever? Because if these expansion teams are they each going to take two players? I'm guessing at this point they're each going to take a player, so two in total from each team. If we leave Sophie Cunningham unprotected, she's gone. But then again, that gets back into what are the rules going to be with free agents? Because Sophie might be like, hey, I want my free agency. Don't give me this crap. I earned it. Don't give me this crap about if the expansion team picks me, I have to go play for them. Right. So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch out for the league as a whole as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, appreciate you checking out the video. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're still subscribed if you have in previous, because that's a big issue. And I will talk to you later.